Hello, welcome to Holistically Speaking. I'm Marella DeVoe, your host. Our mission at Holistically Speaking is to be the avenue through which the voices of holistic health reach you at the time you need it most. And we always have a variety of facilitators, doctors, healers, coaches, and today we're talking about a topic that excites me a lot. My guest is Stephen Gonzalez. Stephen has been a guest in the past, and when he called me to say that he had a possibility of a topic, I just jumped up with excitement because I think this is a really, really relevant topic for a lot of women, many of you watching. And today we're talking about the top 10 reasons why women are not in the relationship they want. So we're actually going to be splitting this show in two. We're going to do the first 5 reasons today, and next week we're going to do the next 5 reasons because we both agree that they're so rich. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. I am really fascinated by the topic. I'm excited to see what you're going to be bringing to us. So,
okay.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
So to start off, how did you come up with these 10 reasons? Like, where does this come from?
Well, it comes from my practice and also from my marriage. So I just noticed that I started changing, the clientele I was attracted started changing, and the theme of women asking about having a partner in their life kept getting stronger and stronger. Mm-hmm. So over time, mm-hmm. I just collected some of what seemed to me to be some of the strong themes.
Yeah.
In women having problems recognizing partners.
Right. So is this mostly, are we talking mostly about single women who are not finding their relationship, or is it also women in relationship whose relationship is not the one they want, or?
Women who are already established, successful, mm-hmm. not having a relationship, and women in the midst of divorces, and then probably a lower percentage of women that are in relationship. But yes, I've been working with women also that are in relationship, and their marriage is not
quite working out for them the way they want.
Yeah. They're a little bit confused, or perplexed mm-hmm. about what are the dynamics going on here,
right?
And what can I do to shift them?
So I just want to say to our viewers, if obviously you're a woman and you're finding that you're not in the relationship that you want, or that your relationship isn't necessarily flowing right the way that you would wish, then this is something you really want to perk up and maybe take some notes, because I've got the first 5 here and I'm sure you're going to be interested. So let's start with the very first one, unless there's something else that you want to preface with.
Yes, I'm feeling a little, I'm not a woman, and I'm going to be talking about femininity, so I just want to say that anything I say is not any kind of criticism. It's more our judgment. Mm-hmm. It's more just energetic assessments.
Right.
So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and having read these already, I and obviously being in your demographic, because I'm not yet in the relationship mm-hmm. that I want. So I look at this and say, oh, this is so interesting, because it might point out behaviors or tendencies or attitudes.
Yeah.
So
hopefully it's coming in at a different angle. I know that usually women might think of it psychologically, or might think about it emotionally mm-hmm. or culturally, and I'm taking an energetic approach. And I'm also refer masculine and feminine energy. I use the terms yin and yang a lot, which is from traditional Chinese medicine,
Yeah.
which I think is a little bit foreign enough to put your mind in a different energetic frame, because already the word feminine and masculine have such strong connotations, right?
So much baggage. And
so much baggage, exactly.
Yeah.
So I use the term yin, feminine, yang, masculine
Perfect.
a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
So yin and yang, we'll be using that throughout the show. So the first reason here, and we'll actually show that to our viewers so they can write it down and anchor that. Confusing desirability with femininity.
Right.
Tell us what that means.
I had a client that took me aback. I was talking to her and she said, she matter-of-factly said, I'm not beautiful. And she said it with, she didn't say it judgmentally, she just said, like matter of fact, I'm not beautiful and I'm plain and I really have to work out and I really have to. And I just was kind of taken aback by her forthrightness, and she said that, and I thought, it made me think deeper about that idea of beauty and desirability, because she was talking about, doing Pilates and, sort of the thing in our culture some women feel like they need to do.
Right.
Right? So I think a lot about the sperm and the ovum. The sperm and the ovum, physically, energetically, and symbolically, are primordial for the image of male and female. So I go back to that quite a bit in my thinking.
Right.
So the thing that makes, well, it's like what does it's almost like what's attractive to the sperm about the ovum?
Yeah.
Right?
It's just
the ovum's just being the ovum.
It's just the fact that it is the.
It is what it is, and the sperm is what it is energetically. The ovum, I'm going to do a little embryology here.
Yeah.
So the ovum bursts forth from the ovary. The fallopian tubes, the fimbria of the fallopian tubes catches the ovary on these feathery fingers. And I like to, and then all down the fallopian tube, there's these feathery fingers that are holding the ovary aloft. And I like to think about the queen held up on the fingertips of her subjects.
Right.
It's kind of a real majestic.
Right.
You think of the sperm, I think of them like soldiers.
Yeah.
Right? So they're ejaculated out of the male body into the external world. So there's the ovary is much more internalized, the sperm is very externalized.
Yeah.
Their initial environment is alkaline. The reproductive tract is acidic. So right off the bat, it's like
it's a shock.
Casualties are high.
Right.
So and then put your mind. I've often thought of put myself in the mindset. Usually, I think put myself in the mindset of a sperm or in the mindset of an ovum, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so these sperm are really they're single-minded.
Right.
Very single-minded. They're on a mission,
right?
And they're basically DNA with the motor.
Yeah.
And so they take off, and the ovum is putting off attractants.
Right.
The ovum doesn't really have any motility on its own, and the sperm is
all
a motor.
motor.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like I'm laying some groundwork for all of these, because I'm going to constantly refer back to sperm and ovum, right?
Yeah.
So some of the sperm go into cul-de-sacs. Some don't even maybe sense the attractants of the ovum and go up the wrong fallopian tube. Right. And then the sperm surrounds the ovary. And I used to think...
The ovum.
The ovum, right.
Yeah.
I used to think that, first one there wins, but that's actually not the case. The ovum has to be surrounded by a number of sperms before it kind of gets in the mood, I guess, activated.
Right.
And then it chooses. So I think
which
it has to
one
be,
it lets in.
Yes. It's almost like it's picking maybe the
Right.
healthiest one.
And so
or I
what's
don't know.
fascinating about your, painting this picture for us is that the ovum is attractive just for the fact of being an ovum.
Yes.
It doesn't have to put makeup on. It doesn't have to work on its self-esteem. It doesn't have to go to Pilates. It doesn't have to pretend to be anything other than the ovum
Right.
it is. And it's absolutely perfect.
Yes.
And I just love that. I love that kind of analogy.
That's not the culture we live in, though.
No.
And also, men are trained to respond to desirability. They're not trained to respond to a woman energetically, to just understand that a woman is attractive by being a woman.
Right.
And so as a woman, I think, to me, understands some of the pragmatic rotation for her energy to be more yin, she automatically becomes more attractive to authentic yang guys.
Exactly.
And I'm going to use the word distorted yang guys are no longer interested
Right.
in her, so she becomes uninteresting to them.
Right.
And then the authentic
Yeah.
yang guys start being interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we could continue like just on this one, but let's move on a little bit, and I know we can kind of circle around.
We can circle around
Yeah.
because they're all interwoven.
They're all interrelated.
Yeah.
So the second one is confusing obsession with devotion. Confusing obsession with devotion. Tell us about
So
that.
I used to look at the sperm, just the whole image of sperm. I used to think they're obsessed. I mean, they're just like, and I just think, I used to look at sperm and think they're just kind of maybe they're just dysfunctional on their own. They just look crazy to me. And then I thought, that can't possibly be.
No.
That can't possibly be. Although the image of millions of soldiers taking territory and,
Yeah.
do or die. So I thought, okay, what is the counterpart? Sort of if obsession is kind of this distorted energy, what would be the equivalent authentic energy or non-distorted energy? And what I came up was with devotion, because devotion can look very much the same, but it's from the position of devotion. And
Interesting.
So I think women who trade on their desirability attract obsessive men, because they are obsessed with the woman's desirability. If the
Right.
woman herself is obsessed with her desirability, then she's going to attract men who are obsessed with their desirability. If a woman can rest in their yin nature, in their femininity, and trust, which I think, this really goes against our culture, and that's how it feels. It feels kind of scary. I think the women I talk to feel scared to go in that direction because they feel like they're losing their power.
Right.
Or like, this isn't going to work. But it does work.
Yeah.
And so when a woman allows herself to rotate, I think of polarities as rotating, when she does that and she rests in her yin nature, there's nothing more attractive to a yang guy.
Yeah.
Because they naturally attract. In fact, they're irresistible forces.
Right.
So it's almost like once you kind of get it right, it's almost like game over.
Well, yeah, and what's coming up for me is in your use of the imagery of the ovum as the queen.
Right.
I think when a woman really sits back and really owns, I guess, her sovereignty of femininity.
Yes.
It's like, this is just the wonderful, beautiful woman I am.
Yes.
It draws, instead of, being all about the heels and which can be fine, but it's not about that sovereignty, that sense of self, when a woman does that, then it does attract that man who really wants to be devoted.
You think of royalty being self-possessed, and there's a certain calmness and self-possession. And when you meet women like that, they just seem, there's something very attractive and usually maybe commentators have a hard time pinning
Right.
exactly what that exactly is, but you know it when you see it.
You know it when you see it.
Or you
yeah.
know it when you're in its presence.
Right.
But there's a counterpart for the male.
Yeah.
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 And in our society, I think that has been so scrambled.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of fathers who aren't fathers, and that
Yeah.
scrambles male energy really badly.
Right.
And also the father's relationship to the daughter can really
Mhm.
so there's a lot of scrambling. So finding the authentic energy sometimes can be, you know, you have to go through a
Can be
thicket,
difficult.
an emotional thicket
Yeah.
sometimes.
So, in what I'm hearing you say then with women is many of us, you know, caught in the play of, you know, making ourselves attractive.
Right.
And so what that ends up drawing is more of the man who's, you know, interested in that, you know,
Yes.
desirability, you know, the pretty woman with the heels and the
And then she has to
appearance.
maintain it, because if
Mhm.
she trades on it,
Right.
then she has to maintain it, and there's never going to be enough maintenance.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
a guy that's obsessed is going to get bored.
Right.
There's nothing
Right.
really the woman could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3, not operating on your intuition. So if we can show number 3, not operating on your intuition. So what do you mean by that?
I'm going to go back into some anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
Water, the metabolism of water in your body is the gastrointestinal tract.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's slow, it's deep, and it's in my experience, it's the way that you actually are sensitive to other people's energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually, it's the water, it's actually hitting your water, and then the brain interprets it later,
Mm-hmm.
or your heart gives you the emotive force of it. So that yin energy interfaces with water, and yin energy is the energy that, yin energy is receptive, right?
Mhm.
Because the ovum is receptive, the female is receptive, the male is externalized. So the intuition is very characteristic of and connected to water metabolism
Mhm.
of the body. So that's inherently yin.
Yeah.
So a woman has greater, I think that's the basis of women saying women's intuition.
Mhm.
A woman by nature has a greater connection with yin, which
Yeah.
makes her more connected to the water in
Mhm.
her body, which gives her
And also more receptive.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So it gives her more discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, in our culture, women are trained to, first of all, yin is not held in really high esteem in our
No.
culture. Femininity is not held in high esteem. Intuition is not held in high esteem. So it's almost like, why should you honor those energies
Right.
and occupy them? So, so it's easy for a woman to abandon her intuition and then to rely pretty much on her emotions.
Mm-hmm.
If she abandons her intuition, then her emotions can't really be as healthy as they're designed to be,
Right.
right? And so then her any relationship she has with the father or the men she has grown up in with her life, any kind of distortion there is emotionally can't be corrected
Mm-hmm.
by the discernment of her intuition. It's almost like her
Right.
intuition's offline,
Right.
and then she's totally at prey emotionally,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so she operates completely emotionally,
Mhm.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Not a good outcome usually.
not a good outcome, because then it's just pure emotion,
Right.
and she doesn't have access to that deeper discernment.
Yeah, and it's like for women, you know, not following that gut feeling that usually hits pretty early on
Yes.
in a relationship where you know this is
Yeah.
probably not the right man,
Yeah.
but kind of
But they override it. Maybe they think over it or rationalize. Or yes, he was like that with all of them, but he's not going to be like that with me.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Right.
yes, I see his track record, but somehow it's going to be
Right.
different with me.
Or the classic that we hear often, you know, women falling in love with the potential of the relationship.
Yes.
You know, what they see is possible versus what the reality is.
Yes.
And so, you know, being driven by this emotional state. And
Yes.
all right.
Another term that I refer to is a Carl Jung term, puer aeternus, for a man,
Yeah.
and that translation is eternal youth
Eternal.
or eternal boy, that has very certain characteristics.
Right.
And so, and men and women I hear talk about the men in their life being boys, and so they would be referring to that puer aeternus,
Yeah.
and which has a lot of positive,
Yeah.
but you know they're not really committed.
Right.
They're not commitment material.
Well, I want to be sure to get to the last two before we run out of time. So
Sure, go
we
ahead.
have 10 more minutes. Number 4 is confusing allowing it to happen with making it happen. So confusing allowing it to happen with making it happen. So
Yes.
tell us about that.
So again, a real division there between yin and yang energy, feminine and masculine energy. The ovum allows, it's putting out attractants, but it's allowing the process to take place. No way for the sperm. The sperm is like, I'm going to make this happen. You know, it's got this spiral tail that just, I think, I don't go 200 RPM. I mean, it's really, you know, it's going to make it happen. So, so feminine energy, yin energy, is really much more about allowing. It would almost be like the mindset could be characterized by, I'm going to go out there and get a man, which then they would have to be desirable, right?
Right.
They'd really have to vamp up the desirability.
Yeah.
But if a woman would ask herself a question of what kind of a woman attracts authentic yang, if she could sit with that question,
Yeah. So powerful.
oh,
I love those sorts of questions, and I'm just going to repeat it because it's so powerful
it
when
is very powerful.
a woman can sit with, what sort of woman can I be in
Right.
your uniqueness, in
Right.
your realness?
Yes.
What is the woman that I am that will attract the man that I really want? You know, it's like
Yes.
asking that question, not because you're going to go put on, you know, a mask, but just really connecting with that sovereignty, right?
Yes. I see yin model so much with my wife.
Yeah.
And one morning I got up and she, there's certain goals I have in expressing my yang, and certain challenges I have of inhabiting my yang energy. And so she would hold this vision of me of yang vision that we kind of both agreed on and stuff. But one
Right.
morning I got up and she said, you know, I'm actually not going to do that anymore. I'm going to ask myself, or I'm going to live in the question of what kind of wife has a husband that exhibits this yang trait. And I felt, my wife is not controlling, but I felt this huge energy shift of, oh my gosh, I just felt like so relaxed because she was being so yin that I just felt like, oh my gosh, I had like all this room
Yeah.
to be yang.
To be yang.
Yeah,
So
not
and
that she ever
Right.
oppressed it,
Yeah.
but just even that mindset of sitting in the question.
Sitting in the question. And how about this perspective? Tell me if this is in line with what you're meaning with this. But the tendency of women where we want to make it happen, and
Right.
you know, not allowing a man to pursue us, but rather becoming the pursuer, or
Right.
I heard someone say once, you know, that women tend to audition for the girlfriend position, and so they start to do all these things to
Wow.
show that, see, I'm the perfect girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, don't you want to be with me? You know, that sort of thing. Is
Yeah.
that kind of on the same line of what you're saying here?
Yeah, I would say auditioning is a yang a yang-y
Right.
kind of energy.
Which leads us into 5, right?
And again, it's going to attract a certain kind of man,
Mm-hmm.
which is maybe going to be the obsessive man, because subconsciously, maybe not even consciously, he's going to be thinking, great, she's already like on the ropes. You know,
Yeah.
she's already
She's,
pedaling as hard as she can.
Right.
And although this may not be all conscious,
oh yeah, certainly not conscious.
yeah, but you know,
So number 5 is using masculinity, or yang as you've been calling it, as a survival strategy.
right,
So using masculinity as a survival strategy. So how are women using this or doing this?
right. Well, usually they're forced into it through childhood, right? And they feel like, well, they have to become tougher. They have to take on yang traits. They have to be in leadership. Not that those things are wrong, but they have to, right? To just survive. It's kind of a bit illusory. They don't actually have to do it, but maybe to win their father's affection,
Right.
or to distance themselves from what they perceive as a weak mother. They gravitate toward taking on yang traits so that they can feel safe, so they can feel independent, so that they can feel strong.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a false, again, they're never going to feel real happy with it because it's not their native energy, right?
Yeah. Is it like the attitudes that you sometimes might see or hear in women saying, oh, I don't need a man? You know, it's like that, like almost defensiveness where you become so young that you, is that what
Right.
you mean?
Yeah, I think it can be, not that I think all women have to be married or anything, but sometimes that's kind of a little bit of a warrior-like military defense, like I don't need a man, I can just be, yes, I can be on my own. But there's usually some part of their life, whether it be a pet or something, that's kind of providing that
Right.
yang energy.
Yeah,
They got to get it someplace.
right, that relationship,
Yes,
you know,
that
that
relationship
that
is-
nurturing, you know,
Yeah.
is directed in that direction.
Yeah.
Any other ways in which women become too young to attract the real, authentic yang, as you're?
You mean, how would that look if a woman was being
how would
too?
it, too young? Yeah. What does that look like?
Yeah. Trying.
Yeah, doing the auditioning that I was mentioning.
Yeah,
right?
trying in all its,
Yeah.
trying. One thing I joke about my wife is that she's not trying for me, and it would seem like crazy. It would seem like, well, that would be the basis of divorce.
Right.
You know, but she's so in her yin, I find it like irresistible. I just like, oh my gosh.
Right.
And so, again, it's that externalization of energy that's attempting to make it happen in all
Yeah.
its forms, I think is kind of subverts the
Right.
complementary nature, right? Those
Yeah.
energies are opposite and complementary, and it subverts it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so glad that we chose to talk only about 5 in the first show because we're pretty much running out of time.
Wow,
So,
already.
yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about the next 6 reasons that women might not be in the relationships that they want. So I'm sure you found this as fascinating and thought-provoking, and so I hope you'll, as I did, and so I hope you'll join us next week. Because we'll be getting a little bit deeper and cycling through some of these reasons.
Right.
Really, really great stuff. And if you are interested in contacting Stephen, this is how you can reach him. His website is stephengonzalez.com, and his email is stephen@stephengonzalez.com. Thank you so much,
Thank
Stephen.
you.
I look forward to next week.
Me too.
See you next week.